Hi, everybody. Today we're zooming into SEMICON West, having conversations with members of the 3D Insights community. Now, today I'm speaking with David Butler of SPTS. Now, I have a real soft spot for SPTS because my very first interview in this industry back in 2005 was with SPTS team about the Pegasus cluster tool. And since then, we've been following them through a lot of changes, including the most recent acquisition by KLA about a year ago. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Hi, David.
Hello, Francoise. How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing really well. How are things going for you?
It's pretty good, actually. We came through the whole COVID stuff very well, is the truth of it. I mean, we shut down in March, like most people did, but we kept the factory open, about 60 to 80 people work in the factory every day, well, 5 days a week, building equipment, demonstrating equipment, shipping equipment. And we introduced all sorts of the protocols that we followed, personal protection gear, hand washing, a deep clean every weekend we do. And I'm proud to say that we met 100% of our shipments on target. We've had no incidents of COVID in the factory, and we kept our customers up and running. So we did everything right. We had some challenges. Not all of our suppliers were quite as good as us.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, I was going to ask you, how's the supply? Was the supply chain impacted at all? Your supply chain?
Yeah, there's a couple of notable exceptions. I won't name names, but there's a couple of companies that did have issues with it because they were some of the areas that they were working in were particularly hard hit by it. But we helped them. We gave some advice. They came through it. We bought some more gear off them to actually up our stock of their equipment in case of crisis, and we got through it. And none of our customers saw any. We were not responsible for any slowdown at our customers. So we managed very well.
I think that's great. I think actually there's certain amount of expectation that, if there's any time where things could slip a little bit, it would be now. People are understanding. And I think the fact that you can work together, I think that's great, working with your suppliers and even thinking ahead. I mean, do you have any tips for other companies who are faced with this that you would share saying as best practices going forward? Because it seems like we're going to be in this for a while.
Well, it is, and we're all coming out now, and this is possibly the danger time. I know that you live in Arizona, isn't it? This is where you are?
Yeah.
And I know some of the southern states have had it. You came out probably too early, and maybe now you're paying for that. And we're right in the middle now. I'm in the UK. Our pubs opened 2 weeks ago. Things are, we're going through our difficult time now. But in terms of working, I mean, the things that we learned is you just keep your people, the right number of people on site. You don't overdo it. If you can work from home, you stay at home. I've been working at home for 14 weeks now. I expect that I won't go back till October. I don't think I'll ever go back to 9 to 5, 5 days a week. You just don't need to.
Isn't that nice to find that out?
Well, it is. And I don't need to spend an hour and a half every day commuting. And I won't travel as much. Zoom is okay. But in terms of in the factory, when you're working, if you're in a place that's big enough to self-isolate, some of maybe the challenges that some of our suppliers had, they had small factories with maybe like metalwork equipment close together. That's harder. That's harder. So the layout of the building and how you plan for it is a big deal. And also having the support of all the staff and them feeling that they are supported by the management, which we had regular checks through the weeks. We've had a couple of questionnaires go out. How do you feel? Do you feel supporting? Do you feel efficient? Do you feel engaged? And the response was always very good.
Yeah, it's a bit of a silver lining that. Okay, so I recently interviewed, let's talk a little bit about your new position, not your new position personally, but SPTS as part of KLA. We recently interviewed Oreste Donzella about the new electronics packaging components group. And he was pretty excited about the capabilities that SPTS brings to the company. Can you talk a little bit more about how that all came about and the role SPTS plays in it?
Yeah, so the electronics packaging components group, that's right. There's 4 divisions within that. There's SPTS, who is the only wafer processing side of the division. There is the ICOS division, the former KLA inspection group out of Belgium. And then there is the PCB and the flat panel display groups out of the former Orbitech of Israel.
Right.
And so we are in this EPC group together. And it's really meant to be like the specialty side of the non-front end, if you like, of the semiconductor industry, where we always specialized.
Yeah.
So SPTS feed into the specialty process, semiconductor processing division. We cover MEMS and sensors, of course, RF, LED, power, and packaging, which we always did. And now is a group that also plays within those sectors. They made a special point of the packaging division. There was they could see the benefit of having this cross-selling approach to packaging with the inspection equipment out of ICOS and the PCB group, and with our wafer processing specialities within SPTS. The other thing within of course, when we think about the mega trends that are coming to our industry, 5G, AI, electric cars, smart homes, smart factories, all that play into the specialty division. Yeah, of course, you've got the front end, but so much of those businesses, those markets will be served by filtering in RF, wide bandgap power technology, the advanced packaging, high density fan out, 3D packaging, all of that. So this group that focuses just on that, outside of front end, there's a lot of powerful things we can do with it.
It's pretty exciting. And yeah, I'm happy to see you guys with them. We're very close. The KLA has always been very supportive of 3D Insights, especially the awards programs, and they're also, as a separate company, members of the community. So you are, and they are. We just need to get ICOS on board. Anyhow, so let's talk about SEMICON West now. This is always a big show for you. You have, like, I would say one of the top 2 parties. The other top party was the Kite Rocket Party. Sorry.
Oh, it was yours. You see, I never managed to go to yours because I was always at ours. Yeah.
No, they're different days.
Oh yes, I do.
That's sorry. That's because I went to both. Yes. Oh, yes, you're there. Yeah. What I didn't used to go to was the MEMS industry group party, because it was the same night as yours. Yeah. And sometimes I would try to hit both, but you always have a great theme. You always have fun games. It's the imagination and effort that goes into that party really makes it stand out. You see, it's one of the, everybody goes there. So how are you handling that this year? Are you just skipping the year?
Well, thanks for those words. Yeah, I mean, it's a real shame. It's my favorite week. It's my favorite working week of the year. And yeah, it's a real shame. We had a great theme for this party. I'm not going to tell you what it was because we'll use it next year if it's still relevant. Yeah, but we always try to keep it current. We've had AI themes. We've had the Olympics one year, which was that was a bit of a chaos actually. But
remember the flexibility one? I remember the flexibility.
That was the first one we did. Yeah, you couldn't really do that again.
Probably
not. But this year, so we're doing the virtual booth, of course. Again, that's what we're doing this year. It's a virtual SEMICON West. See what it's like next week. So we have the virtual booth. We have a lot of resources that we're putting on the booth that you can download and take away with you. Instead of the posters that we always have, every year at our booth, we have about 8 posters, which talks about a market, a technology, a topic. This year, we've got talking posters. So the product managers have all recorded a piece to camera, a headshot to camera, talking for about 2 minutes on an aspect of their technology and the selling the benefits of that technology. So it's... So and we will come online in the UK. Of course, in the UK, it's going to be 5 to 11 o'clock at night.
Oh,
well, it's okay. It's still like it's not completely unreasonable hours. What we'll do is we will have our sales, our US sales will be there to accept customers into our virtual booth when they knock on the virtual door. I still think it still sounds crazy to me. And then if they need help from overseas, from one of us to talk about plasma dicing or filtering or power, we will be there with our phones ready to be, okay, come on 5 minutes and we'll just dial in.
We're going to have a debriefing after, we're going to have to because we're going to be also there. So we have all of these videos are here. So if you're watching, check out the other videos. And there's also the live chat that is text chat. It's not video chat. So I didn't realize people had to knock on the door to get in. So I'm going to have to.
I'm probably guessing. I haven't had my training yet. That's going to be tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, there's chats and there's chat windows, and you can have private chats and there's public chats. And we're going to have our booth staffed, and I'm actually going to go around and visit as I can. We have a couple people who are able to cover the chat room. So it should be interesting and to see how the platform works. And I think it'll be a new way of doing things, and whether or not it'll carry over to other events.
I don't think so. I can't see this as being a long runner. I mean, SEMICON Taiwan is going to be a local show. It's going to be open. Whether I'll travel to it, I'm not sure. But SEMICON Europa, I expect will go there. SEMICON Japan, I mean, who knows? But
we may not be at SEMICON Europa because we're not going to be able to get, we're going to have to quarantine for 14 days in Germany before we can go to something.
Well, so I don't know if that's going to that's in November? Well, maybe.
Well, considering that we're still having 60,000 cases a day in the United States. So anyhow, did you want to talk about what you'll be showcasing? Do you have any new products that you're introducing?
Well, we're going to be sort of talking about some of the new things we're doing this year, or some of the big focuses for us this year is on dicing, actually, plasma dicing. Okay. Which is something we launched about 3 or 4 years ago and had a bit of a slow uptake for, it created a lot of interest for customers who were making very, very small die, like RFID chips, where they could suddenly go from getting maybe 500,000 die in a wafer to 1 million die in a wafer, because they could pack the die close together, not worry about cracking and heat zones as you would have on a saw or a laser dicing system. But this year, what we're seeing is suddenly a lot of new interest from some very, very big names doing die-to-wafer, die-to-die bonding.
Okay.
This hybrid bonding, so this hybrid bonding is going to be the next big step in high-performance compute. 1,000 times more connections than you would get with conventional bumping or something. And if you're going to put two surfaces together and make a bond on a pretty large structure, large die, right across it, those two surfaces have to be perfectly clean, and you cannot get to that level of cleanliness with saws or lasers, and it's plasma dicing. So we've seen a huge amount of interest from that.
That's really cool, because we follow a lot about hybrid bonding, and the idea that I had not really thought about the other processes that would impact, and that would generate interest in, now we needed a cleaner way to dice. So that the hybrid bonding trend will bring more business to you guys for plasma. That's cool.
It is. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say something here, and I'm going to hopefully not get this wrong, because I'm just trying to remember, but IMEC have done some really interesting work on how big a particle can compromise a die-to-die bond.
Okay.
And there's some data that showed that a 1 micron size particle can actually cause a void something like 100 times larger.
Oh, wow.
That it will actually, the effect of it will spread out like 100 microns.
Yeah.
So it has to be super clean. I mean, it's front-end cleanliness in a back-end, also a mid-end application. So plasma dicing is the way to do it. And so we get a lot of that. There's also a lot of interest in a similar but different hybrid, the memory cubes, again, for the high performance compute, the amount of memory that you're going to need to handle these AI and data centers. Those multi-stat memory. So we're getting interest in that, again, from dicing, but also wafer thinning, making these silicon down to 5 microns or less thickness. Work we've published before with IMEC. So we'll be talking about that at the show, a lot about filtering, TC SAW, BOR, 5G filtering, where we think we pretty much lead the way in terms of technology in those sort of those disciplines for both deposition and etch. So it's Yeah, I mean, it's just a shame we won't be there. I just hope it, you know, I don't know how
I
it's
know,
going to
it's
work,
weird.
but yeah.
Well, we are ultimately there right now because when this plays, we'll be there. So we'll have to find
Yes, we
out.
will. Okay.
So where can people go to find out more about SPTS? Obviously, visit the booth, the virtual booth, which I
Yeah.
think are you in the equipment pavilion? Because we don't have booth numbers this year, so.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I don't know where we are. I'm sorry. But obviously, if you
Okay.
go onto our website, www.spts.com, there's all the information on there.
Okay. And you can contact through the website, you can get in contact with
You
you.
can go onto
Yeah.
inquiries@spts.com. Yeah.
I do encourage people to look it up. It's alphabetical, probably equipment. And that way you can go and you can have a live chat with David at the SPTS booth. You can leave your information. He can contact you there. So thank you for joining us today. It's, you know, this is not quite as good, but I didn't get to run into you, but now I get to see you. So always great to talk with you. And to everyone listening, thanks for stopping into the 3D Insights booth at Virtual SEMICON West. Don't forget to download your free copy of the yearbook and subscribe to our e-newsletter, and enjoy the rest of your time at Virtual SEMICON West. Bye-bye, everybody.